and I can chat from here, right? Live up, कुछ नहीं आ रहा। Okay. Okay, hello everyone, good evening and welcome to the live session for this course. And yeah, I'll be happy to take your questions. So I see that a few have come in the chat. Some of you have no questions until now, that's okay. If everything is going smoothly, that's great. And we can, we will have one other such session towards the end of the course. So that's fine. And Mr. Vinayak is asking, are there any prerequisites? So if you have a basic introduction to programming, that should be enough for you to follow along. So if you've not done any operating systems or any such course beforehand, that's okay. And we should be able to, catch you up with all the basics needed. And if you are facing any difficulties, please let us know. We'll be happy to help you out. Good evening everyone, and if you have any doubts, please post it in the chat box here, and I'll try to answer them. And some of you have also submitted some doubts beforehand in an offline form, so I can maybe answer those first, and especially some of the technical doubts that have been submitted. And after that, we can take the questions from the chat. So one of the doubts that came was how do you differentiate between blocking and non-blocking system calls? So there is no easy way. You have to read the documentation of the operating system. You have to read the documentation that says what is the return value, what are the arguments, and from the return value you'll know will it block if this so and so data is not available. So there is no easy way for you to just look at the system call and know. And of course sometimes based on some common sense we can make out, if you're saying read data from the disk, and your disk takes a long time to read data, so you know that read will most likely be a blocking system call. Or if there's a system call to get the PID, the process identifier of a process, there's nothing much to do for that. The OS can immediately return the value. So such system calls will be non-blocking, but there is no other easy way to do that. Okay, and in the chat, so someone has asked, is there a basic programming course? Yes, so there is actually a basic programming course. There are several on NPTEL. There is one offered by Professor Abhiram Ranade, who's also from IIT Bombay, who's my colleague, which we actually use for our introductory programming here as well, right? So please do check it out, the introductory programming course on NPTEL, and you should have many more options. And so many of you are here, so Madhavam, Balbhaskar, and Nitish, Murali, hello everyone. And so the next question is, if possible, can you please discuss some real case study for ML ops in the context of systems design? So I am not sure I fully understand this question. So there is a lot of work on operating of ML systems that deals with how to run ML software efficiently on computer systems, things like TensorFlow and all of that. But in the context of this course itself, of course this course has already all been recorded and the content is ready, so I cannot probably share that, but maybe on the discussion forum or something at a later point I can pull up when we are discussing. So we do some real life case studies, none of them is anything related to ML, but when we are doing that content, maybe I can point you to some real life ML systems as such and some advanced papers in this context. But as of now, I do not have any plans to do a ML based case study in the context of systems design. So that, though that will be an interesting topic, I can keep it in mind for the future. That's a good suggestion. And so I hope that question is taken care of. And a question from Murali Krishna: will you be offering an advanced version of this course? So that will depend. So there are some plans, but nothing is planned as of now. So, but I will keep you all posted. I think you should see some announcement on NPTEL if there is something planned. But though as of now, right now, nothing is immediately planned. So. And the other question from Murali: how to find some material on dynamic linking? Yeah, so this is an interesting topic actually that somehow doesn't fit into any of the traditional courses. How do you, how does the linker work? How is the executable created? It's usually some combination of architecture, compilers, OS. It's kind of very overlapping things will be there. But in this course as such, I could not really find a slot to fit that in. But maybe in an advanced course that can be something that can go ahead. But if you guys are interested, maybe on the discussion forum offline, I can point you all to relevant some good textbooks on this topic. But as of now in this course, I do not plan to cover dynamic linking. And so there's a question from Vikash: how to find opportunity in this field? So I'm not sure what that question means. So maybe Vikash, you can elaborate it a little bit. So in general, the area of systems as such, right? If you want to kind of do a job in this area, so after you do some course like this, maybe apply to companies that do hardcore systems jobs, the Googles and Microsofts of the world that do system development. You can find companies that work in this area and try to get into it. So if that is what you're asking. But specific career advice, I'm not sure I'm equipped to provide that. And then the next question from, so there's a whole bunch of good evenings. Hello everyone. Those of you who are joining, thank you for coming in. We've just started. And so the next question from Vivek is, if one process terminates unexpectedly, how does another process know that? So in general, I mean, if a process terminates, there's no easy way for any other random process to know that, right? I mean, that is, in operating systems, that level of isolation, separation between processes will be there. If a process started by some other user has terminated, why should a process of another user know it? There's in general no easy way to know it, unless of course it is a parent child, right? If a child terminates, then the parent actually can do the wait system call, get to know that the child has terminated. And there are also some other signals that the parent can subscribe for, saying if the child terminates, send me a signal. There are some advanced ways of doing it, but this is possible only in the context of a parent child. But in general, the OS does not. If some random process has terminated, it won't go tell any other process, right? You're not supposed to know that information also. So I hope Vivek, that has answered your question. And Devanshi is asking, will we be doing any kind of project using the course knowledge? So as of now, NPTEL platform itself does not really let me do any practical assignments to the students, right? So that is a little difficult in this platform. So therefore, what at IIT Bombay we've kind of been thinking about some kind of a summer training school kind of a thing. So we will we are firming up those details, and we will let you know. Maybe I will also post about it on the discussion forum once it is clarified, some kind of a project based internship based on sort of the OS networking system design concepts that we've studied in this course. So that is something I have in mind. But this course itself, it's very hard to do any practical stuff in this NPTEL course itself. But of course, all the material that you learn in this course, right? It is any software job that you take in the future, all of these things of knowledge about processes, memory, IO, building systems. I mean, this will be useful for you in any practical project that you do in your future. But anything tied to this course or follow up to this course, we will, I will keep you all posted on the forum. And then the next question from Gopi Khanna, why didn't NPTEL provide all the videos initially? So I think NPTEL is releasing them on a weekly basis, right? We don't want to dump all 40 videos of the course at you and overwhelm people. So they will be released in a week by week manner, where you do 5 lectures of a week and some tutorial videos, the assignment, and then the next week's content comes in. So I think that is the way NPTEL works. I personally have no control over when these videos get released. My part is to prepare the content, but I think NPTEL has its own schedule that they will follow. Okay. And then the next question from Gautam. Since most real-world applications are I/O bound, is there any possibility to cover various flavors of I/O on Linux in this course? So Gautam, that is actually coming up. We do blocking I/O, ePOL, and all of that in the next week. Okay, so that is actually, as you say, I mean, this I/O is actually a very important part of building computer systems, and therefore we do spend a fair bit of time understanding how I/O works and how to build I/O bound applications, the system calls for I/O, and all of those things are coming up. So I think the next week or so you should start seeing this content. Okay. And thanks Gautam for the comment that it took me a lot of time to piece how things map at the OS level. Okay, I think that is actually one of the reasons why I kind of came up with this course that connects up things like OS, networking, system design, and all of that. Is normally these things are taught in separate courses, right? And for students it is very hard. Why students, even for us, it is very hard to see how all of them tie up together. For example, things like how I/O happens inside the OS, right? This is something that never gets taught in a networking course, never gets taught in a OS course, because it's doesn't fit into any bucket. But a lot of real world knowledge is actually like that. So I've, at least to the best of my knowledge that I found, is this big picture of connecting the dots is needed. I try to put that into this course. But those of you, like for example Gautam, people who are working developers, if you have any specific suggestions on certain things, like for example this ePOL suggestion that you've given, it's already coming up in the course. But if there are other such suggestions that people who are especially in the industry who think that such content can be added to this course or is not covered in other courses should be covered here, please feel free to let me know. I'll be very happy to have your feedback on specific topics that can be covered in the course. If not in this course, maybe in a follow-up version, or I'll figure out how to deliver that. But I'll be happy to do that things, especially things of how all of these things connect together. If you have any such suggestions, I'll be happy to take that. Okay, and the next question from Moto G. Sorry, whoever is asking this, I think I see your phone's name and not your name, unfortunately. But a humble request to let us know of any summer school related activities. Yes, guys, definitely I will post. We are discussing these things internally within our department and within our research group of having some kind of a practical hands-on systems based summer activity, and I will surely let you all know about it sometime soon, right? I will post on the forum. So I don't have an announcement at this point, but I will definitely keep you all posted. And the next request from Murali Krishna is offer a course on distributed systems. So yeah, that is something I am, the idea is there in the pipeline, but yeah, so far I've not had the bandwidth for it. So Murali, some of the distributed systems concepts at a high level I do cover later on in this course, especially the more system building practical parts of it get covered in the last week. But yeah, a full-fledged course is something that I have on my plate, but haven't gotten to it yet. I'll probably, you'll hear from me if I do it. Okay. So I seem to have reached the end of the chat. If there are any more questions, please or if I missed anything. And there are So the next question is again about a project. So we will again, as I said, we are thinking of some summer related activity about a hands-on project based on the contents of this course. So I will keep you all posted. You should hear about it on the discussion forum. Okay. And there was also a question in the offline thing that asked about you know PhD in this field of computer science. So the question was that in this systems engineering and this field, the technology changes very fast, and do you have to, if you do a PhD for 4 or 5 years, will it be useful when you go to industry, and are you better off just doing a bachelor's and working? Well, I think there are, so those of you who are considering some kind of a PhD in the area of systems, I think, it is, of course, it is not a very easy choice. A PhD has its own trade-offs, and I will definitely not say a PhD is for everyone and everybody should do a PhD. So those of you who enjoy system building, I think you're better off, if you don't want to philosophize about things and just want to write code, I think taking up a job after BTech or a master's is perfectly fine. But I think where a PhD comes in is, of course, the skill set, the specific, maybe you're working on a particular software or a particular framework that might get updated 5 years later, 10 years later. In fact, in systems, anything we do today, I teach you a specific programming language, a specific way of programming, it will change in a few years, right? So the same holds for whatever you do in your PhD. Like, I'm not working on what I did in my PhD right now, right? Things become obsolete. They become outdated very soon, especially in this field. But I think if you do a PhD, what kind of skills you will learn is that, how to analyze things, how to ask questions. Suppose there is a server that is giving certain performance. Why is the performance low? How do I systematically identify where is a performance bottleneck? How do I systematically optimize things? So I think a certain discipline in your thinking that comes up with doing a PhD, and a certain way of presenting things, writing things, expressing things, I think your approach to work will change. I will not say that by doing PhD you will learn some tools and techniques that will immediately apply in your job. They may not, right? And you are, technology might evolve and there's no guarantee. But I think a certain way of thinking that comes with PhD, again, if you are interested in these kind of things, I think that is useful for those of you who are considering higher studies in these particular areas. Okay. And so there's a compliment from Madhavan saying the content is precise. This kind of, how do you, so thanks for that. And how do you express things concisely, right? Once you write a 200-page thesis and you write, 20 drafts of it, certain things, certain skills come fairly naturally, right? So there are certain advantages of doing a PhD to pick up certain skills. But of course, it requires a lot of effort and patience and various trade-offs. So I wouldn't say all of you should jump and do a PhD. But if you are considering it, I think, don't think of it as, oh, 4 years, 5 years I'll spend and whatever I learn will go waste. The specific technologies might get obsolete, but the skills that you learn will stay with you forever. I think whoever had asked that question, I hope that has clarified. And also a lot of in the offline, also a lot of questions about internships and things like that. As I said, for projects or internships, we will post sometime soon. I'll post on the discussion forum, right? Probably by the end of this month. And there's a question in the chat about why only an 8-week course. I mean, whatever content I wanted to say kind of fit in an 8-week course, but yeah, I mean, I don't have a specific answer why 8 weeks. Yeah, sure, it could have been 12 weeks. And The next question from Vivek is how to calculate RAM utilization by any processor or thread, right? So if you do something like even top, okay, so top will give you for every process or thread how much CPU and how much RAM it is using, right? So that will help you see which processes are consuming more memory and so on, right? So ProcFS gives virtual memory utilization, but what is the method to calculate the actual physical memory utilization? So if you do top or the PS output of a process, there are two fields. You will see what is called the virtual memory size as well as what is called the RSS or resident set size, right? So if you read the man page of PS, you will find these two different fields pertaining to memory. One is the virtual memory size and the other, what is called the resident set size or RSS, is actually the physical memory that is occupied by the process, right? And even somewhere in the proc file system also, I don't remember exactly, but if you Google for how to find the RSS, resident set size of a process, you will find there are PS is one place, and I'm sure there are other commands also which will tell you this is the actual physical memory. So note that the virtual memory need not be equal to physical memory. You might think you have so much virtual memory, but the OS might only give you a little bit of physical memory. That also you can get from the RSS field in the information about the process. Okay, and the next question, is there any course which was offered by you earlier which can complement and enrich our study for this course? So I have a course on, I have a couple of courses put up as YouTube lectures, one on operating systems and the other on virtualization and cloud computing, both of which have been taught at IIT Bombay, that I use my teaching material here. So I have recently on the, so if you just go to my home page, you should find my lectures on operating systems. It is linked from my home page, which has the OS part. I'm only covering it in like 3 weeks here. I'm just giving an overview because I want to move on to other content, but on that from my home page you will find this OS page which has all the material, and there you have, for example, even for instructors there are programming assignments, there are practice problems with solutions. All the content that I have collected from my teaching of operating systems over the past few years, I have archived it over there. I can even put up the link here in the chat if you guys want. Okay, so the link is here in the chat. So especially other faculty, if you want to refer this material and take some of the labs and things like that from it, feel free to do so. And the next question is any future courses around Kubernetes and Golang? So again, I have a rough course on virtualization and cloud computing, where I cover a little bit of containers and the basic idea of Kubernetes and all of that. But yeah, detailed course, I think that is sort of, at this point there's nothing on the table, but yeah, I'll keep you all posted if some such ideas come up. Okay, so again, I have reached the end of the chat. Any more questions, folks? So in the offline questions, again something has there are some questions. So some of the questions, again, a lot of the offline questions are about internships. So those of you who joined late, I would like to point out that I will post an announcement on internships in a little while on the discussion forum. And Then there's the other question in the offline list about how is this course helpful to those who want to join service-based industries like TCS or Infosys and so on after BTech. So I think any software job if you do, right, of course you can think of it as fine, I'm writing some program, I'm writing some code that is running. But in general, if you have to really think about how is this code running, how is the performance going to be there, how can I make this program work better. Of course writing software is one thing, but if you want to really understand under the hood inside how is the software running, how can I make it perform better, all these things, I think a broad systems introduction like this will help you no matter what you do, as long as you're doing something in the software industry, right? And some of you are asking how to catch up on the course. Can I watch all the videos in one go? Sure, I think you can. It's up to your capacity of learning and how much time you can spend. Sure, if you want to if you've joined late and you want to catch up on the content, please feel free to do so. There's about 2.5 hours of content per week. So if you missed about 3 weeks, I think one marathon session you should be able to catch up, though I would say take it slowly and make sure you understand the content. So it's totally up to your capacity, guys. So I cannot I will not say no, it's not possible. Okay. And then there's also some questions about what will be the final exam. So the final exam will roughly be like the assignments that you're seeing, right? Similar difficulty questions, maybe a little bit more questions that span across different weeks of content. The weekly assignments are, yeah, so I think a similar question is also coming up in the chat. The exam will be, I think, roughly in the same category as the assignments. Some questions will in fact be similar to the assignments to make sure that you have understood, you've solved the assignments properly. And some questions will involve maybe a little bit of thinking and design. Of course, all these have to be online computer-based exams, so I cannot ask you to kind of do a pen and paper thing, but you will have similar, to the assignments. So testing your basic concepts and basic understanding. So nothing too fancy in the exam. Okay. And so what else can you do beyond this course? I think somebody is asking, I think the ideal way to make sure you understand the contents of this course is to actually build systems, right? And of course in NPTEL there's really no way for me to conduct like labs, programming labs or anything. So we are planning some summer activity around this that, I'll probably post in a little while in the discussion forum. I'll probably announce it, but other than that I would suggest that at the end of every lecture I give some suggestions of programming assignments, so please feel free to solve them. Of course there's no way for you to submit code in the NPTEL platform and for me to enforce it, but please feel free to solve and get back to me if you have any doubts saying, oh, I could not solve this, I'm stuck here, I'm stuck there. Please post on the discussion forum and myself or the TAs will be happy to help you debug your program. So I cannot enforce it or check it, but now or even after the course, some of the things, the programming assignments and in the tutorials we are showing you some snippets of code. Try to write that yourself, run it yourself. So I think the best way to learn the content of this course is to actually do these hands-on practical assignments along with the lectures. Okay. And then there's another question about address translation that was there in the offline forum. How is a 32-bit system, 20 bits is page number and 12 bits is offset? How is the offset? 12 bits. Okay. So the offset is 12 bits because suppose you have say your page has 4 bytes, right? Let's take a simple example. Your page has 4 bytes. How will you address those bytes? You will say the first byte is 00, second byte is 01, the third byte is 10, fourth byte is 11, right? If I give you 2 bits, you can specify the addresses of 4 bytes. Similarly, if I give you 3 bits, you can specify the addresses of 2 raised to the 3, that is 8 bytes, right? So in general, in binary, given n bits, you can specify the addresses of 2 to the n different things, right? From 0, 0, 0, all 0, 0, 0, 1 to so on up to 2 to the n. Right? For example, if I have 4 bits, I can do 16 different things. I can specify the addresses of 5 bits, 32 different things, and so on. Similarly, if I have 4 KB, which is 2 raised to the 12, 4 KB is 2 to the 12, right? If I have 4 KB bytes in a page, 4 KB different things in a page, then I will need 12 bits, right? But which is basically log of 4 KB, log base 2 of 4 KB is 12. So I will need 12 bits in order to specify which of those bytes in a page I am referring to, right? Any address should be able to specifically, so note that memory is byte addressable. Every byte, every bit does not have an address, every byte has an address. Therefore, if you have 4 kilobytes, 4096 bytes in a page, you will need log base 2 of 4096, that is 12 different bits, 12 bit address to tell you which of those 4096 bytes you are referring to. Therefore, the offset within a page, you will need 12 bits. If you have fewer than 12 bits, you cannot mention, address all the 4 KB bytes in a page, right? So therefore, your offset is 12 bits, and whatever is left beyond the offset, that is your page number, right? This chunk of 4 KB, this chunk of 4 KB, that number, how do you give? You give that by the higher order 20-bit page number, okay? And I hope that's clear. Then in the week 4 study material, the PPTs are wrong. They are of week 5 networking and file systems. Okay. So maybe the wrong set of PPTs were uploaded. I will alert the staff about it. So thank you. I'm going to take a look at that and get it fixed. Okay. And the question in the chat is, are we expected to know the Linux API for internship? So guys, the internship is not finalized yet, so please bear with me while I send out the exact announcement, right? So there will be multiple different things that you can do. We'll let you know. Okay. And the next question in the chat from Vivek. Is it possible for you to cover design consideration or design patterns while designing big projects which involve multiple threads and processes? Yeah, Vivek, that is coming up. In fact, that is one of the main focuses of this course, to cover these design patterns, and week 5 onwards this will start. Okay, so please bear with me as we cover the fundamental building blocks, and we will get to sort of design patterns of large systems. That is one of the focus points of this course. Okay. And any more questions? Yeah, so I seem to have come to the end of the chat here. So I'll be around for a few more minutes to answer any questions. So please put them down in the chat box if there's anything else that you'd like me to discuss today. And thank you all for following along in the course and for giving your feedback, for asking doubts in the doubt session. I think this interaction is helpful. It will help me understand how much you are following and what parts are not clear. So I really appreciate your participation both in the the live session today as well as in the discussion forum. So let's keep the discussion and the interactions going in the remaining weeks of the course as well. So yeah, I'll be around for a few more minutes. If there are no further questions, we can wrap up the session. Yeah, thank you everyone for all the kind words. I'm happy that you all are learning and enjoying the course very much. So I think we'll wait for 5 more minutes and wrap up. Yeah, Vineet, yes, we will have another session after a few more weeks because I think this is just initial content and therefore we will definitely have another session. A couple, 2, 3 more weeks into the course, we will do that and we'll keep you all posted. So the next question in the chat is how does TOP calculate the virtual memory of processes? So the OS actually exposes, there's something called the proc file system using which the OS will tell you, there's a way to ask the OS for each process how much memory are you using. For example, the OS can look inside the page table of a process, right? OS knows how much memory it is allocating to each process, therefore it knows the virtual memory size of processes. So there is a way using the proc file system to ask the OS each process how much memory is it using, right? So these tools like top and ps, they basically ask the OS and print out, they ask the OS how many processes are there, and for all processes they'll ask give me all information about this, and they'll correspondingly print it out, right? So you have to understand that the OS will know this and it's just a matter of finding out how to ask the OS, and these, there are interfaces and tools like top use those interfaces. So the next question is upgraded RAM for my machine to 4 GB and Windows recognizes it as 3.6 from 3.46 GB and Linux as 3.86 GB. So kindly elaborate on this. So this is actually how the file system is organized on the disk, right? So next week we are going to see the, when you look at the file system lectures, uh, you'll see that different file systems, they have different ways of organizing the content. So every file system will have some extra information that it has to keep along with the files, and different file systems have different amounts of this extra information. So this is really a function of how the file system is working, right? So there's a good observation, oh sorry, this is not the disk, I'm sorry, this is the RAM. Sorry, I misread the question. But even in the RAM also, the OS can have its own, OS will store its own memory image and its own binaries, code, whatever it has to store. So therefore, given that the OS will have its own overheads, some amount of the memory won't be available for user processes, right? So that might explain the differences, though exactly I'm not sure what precisely explains this difference, but you can expect that different operating systems manage memory differently and have different data structures to store in memory, and therefore they will consume more or less space in the RAM. So the RAM utilization, uh, so Vivek, I'm not sure I understand your question. How to know the exact RAM utilization by the kernel? So as in how much memory is being taken up by the OS, then you can just look at the size of your OS executable, OS binary, how much size it is there, it will be there in RAM. Then you can also look at how much of, the RAM utilization, where is the memory being stored, which process is using how much memory. So I think there are tools like, things like top and all will give you some RAM utilization. So I don't know if that has answered your question. See, the OS itself, whatever is the OS code you copy in RAM, that will be consuming memory. Beyond that, the OS is, and the OS will have some kernel level threads, some of its own processes to do some work, background work for it. They will consume some memory that you can see in top, you'll see these processes. And beyond that, whenever some process runs, it does some system calls or something, the OS is running. That also in that processes list you can see how much of RAM is being used. So I think from various these sources you can put together. I'm not sure how you can find out total kernel, how much is the RAM utilization. I'm not fully sure there's a tool for it, but you can piece it together from many different things. Okay, so Vivek, I hope that's answered your question. And any more questions, folks, in the chat? So thanks to all of you who've come and who've asked questions. This is good feedback. So the next question from Shreyas: how is context switch stored in resource constrained OSs? Uh, so Shreyas, I'm not sure I follow the question. Can you elaborate on the question? So what exactly is the context switch? Of course, resource constrained OSs will have optimized data structures, and in general, all the data structures of an OS will have to be optimized a fair bit for resource constrained operating systems. Everything from your PCB and all of that has to be optimized. But yeah, I'm not sure I understand what is the context switch. Uh, so what exactly is so I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. Maybe you can, use the discussion forum to elaborate. But so I know that there are some resource constrained operating systems, but I'm not sure I understand what you mean by how is the context switch stored in these resource constrained operating systems. There are many different, various data structures are optimized. So like that only. I'm not sure what you mean by the context switch. So Shreyas, I hope that's answered your question. Okay, sure. Yeah, thank you all. And Sacharit, internship is in which domain? It will roughly be in this, systems, networking, OS kind of domain, but I'll post more details. So, thank you, folks. Thank you. So, any more questions, guys? Last call for questions. Otherwise, we'll wrap up the session. So, thank you all. Two minutes and we'll close. Yes, yes. So we will have more live sessions every 2 or 3 weeks, and we will keep you posted. Okay. So otherwise, feel free to use the discussion forum also for your doubts, and we will monitor those and get back to you promptly. So between the live sessions, please be active on the discussion forum, and we will have more live sessions before the exam. So the next question from Sacharit, will this course deep dive into system design concepts from low level design? So I'm not sure I understand what is low level design, but we will do like high level design patterns and all of that. So the low level stuff of OS networking and all the system calls we are covering now in the next few weeks. So, but the high level system design we will cover starting week 5 onwards. Okay, then thank you all. We will wrap up the session now. Thanks a lot for coming, and hope to see you all in the next live session and also on the discussion forum. Thank you.